Today on Online for Authors, I'm chatting with Kay A. Oliver, author of Road to Elysium. Welcome, Kay.
Welcome. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
I am super excited to have you. I really enjoyed the book. Before we really dive into it, can you give readers maybe just like a quick idea of what they're going to get when they open these pages?
This book is inspired by a true story. And starts off, well, let me just rephrase it. It is about a man who has lost all hope. The things that he values in life are gone. And something happens unexpectedly, which drives him down another, avenue. And in a knee-jerk reaction, when a young boy asks him a question, he says yes, because it's like, yes, okay, sure. And that response changes everything. It helps with, redeeming who he is. It changes the young boy's life, that family's life, and eventually a lot of people that surround these two individuals.
Right. I love that it was inspired by a real story. Most things that I write have something real in them, even if it's very minor, that made me go, ooh, and then I write. How inspired was this? Do you feel like you essentially wrote a real story and just threw in some fake names, or was there just a little touch of inspiration that sent you down this path?
So I was watching a news segment at the end of the news, one of those uplifting stories that only takes 30 seconds to tell, and I thought, that's a great story. Someone has written about it. Let me go find it. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It was a little blurb in a newspaper that they had picked up on, and I thought, you're kidding me. So I did all my research to try to find it. Nowhere. So I thought, this needs to get out, in the sense of what took place. So right. Can I say that it is all, most of it is from how I see it playing out, as opposed to, I didn't reach out to the people. I couldn't find a connection. So it is, it's a fiction with a dab of reality in it. And the funny thing is, when my editor first read it, the one thing that was very true was the one thing she goes, oh, this would never happen. And I go, that's the true part of the story.
So it's funny that you say that, because Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, my first one, is based on a true story that someone told me. And I tell everyone I wrote 82,000 words of fiction to tell 3 pages of truth. So I have her little truth at the very end. And I've been told, oh, the book is so good, da, 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 da. The ending is a little convenient. It's like, yeah, but the ending is the real piece. Like, everything else was me lying to you, right? So I think that's funny that happens.
Yes, that's I'm glad to hear that experience.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was odd. That's the one piece that was true.
I know. And so to me, it just reminds us that truth often is stranger than fiction. And so, yeah, I love that.
My first book was Disturbed Tombs, and it has to do with the question, why do we, think that we can dig up every mummy while our graveyards are sacred?
Right.
And that question's always bothered me. But I threw a lot of truth, the real towns, the real, names of people that, the ancient pharaohs, and all that research and all that truth into it. But it's all fiction. So you have to sprinkle fiction with truth so that it appears real.
Absolutely. So when we meet Ken, he's pretty much just existing.
Yes.
I mean, there isn't any real life going on. I mean, you did a very good job of describing it. I immediately felt his angst and his pain. He sits in the dark, and he doesn't even go up to bed to sleep, and all of the things that just let you understand. And I was surprised, actually, that he was still functional at work.
Right. Yeah. So he was going through the motions without emotion, he was still, he'd been so trained that he could just go to work. And though he was standoffish to people at that time, he wasn't his old self.
Right.
And everybody understood why. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then So just like out of nowhere, he's robbed by these teenage boys, right? And
Right.
his whole life just flips from that point on. And I just found it almost amusing when you think about it, that something like a robbery is what would shake him up, right? Because
Right. Absolutely.
you would think it would be, I don't know, like, something that a pastor said to him, or a neighbor needing something or whatever, and instead it's boys that have come to rob him. And then all of a sudden he starts thinking, he starts
Right.
and he makes these decisions. How did you come up with that? Was that part of the real story, or was that
No.
just something that you came up with?
Yeah, that is something I came up with, something that was not in the norm for him, right? So
Right.
he going through the motions. You go through the motions, it's the same thing every day, da da da. This was something that he's still sitting in the dark, which caused the robbery.
Right, because they think he's not home, right?
And they've been robbing the neighborhood, and so something out of the ordinary, which made him start thinking something different.
I just loved that whole premise, because it was like all of a sudden his world was rocked.
Yes.
And then he started doing things just a little bit differently. So that's
Correct.
great. Yeah. So who is your favorite character in this book?
Oh, it'd probably be Ken.
Would it be Ken? Yeah.
Yeah, it would be Ken. Uh-huh.
Why is that?
Because of the change, because of him questioning, if I could have had a boy that age.
Right.
And then being open-minded enough to go and investigate a little bit, and then the unexpected. Michael is just amazing, because that was bold and courageous to ask the question he asked, so without giving it away.
Right.
But
Right.
that is the truth. There's the truth, that a young man approached another older man and asked that question. So that is the truth in the book.
So I loved that whole idea. You throw in a little bit of romance. So we see a little bit of romance in there. One of the things that, as I was doing my research about your website, your website talks that, you have these strong women characters. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because this book, I mean, the woman the woman that he meets is a strong woman, but she's by no means a main player. In fact,
right.
The story more or less could have been told without her. I mean, she makes it brings,
except for the ending. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it brings breadth and depth and things to the story, but she's not anything that you're watching her arc so much. Right. What made you decide to go with a male main strong character versus doing your female like you
like all my other books, right?
Yeah.
I only have 2 books that have leading male characters. The rest of my books are strong female. With Disturbed Tombs series, the Dr. Kelly Worthy series has a strong male component to it as well.
Yeah.
But because that's the way the actual story happened, right? It was would it be the same if it was a young girl and a woman? She probably wouldn't be asking the question that she asked, right? So I kept with what I knew about the true story.
All right. I always like it when authors are willing to kind of step outside what feels normal for them. Like I've written 3 historical fiction, and what I'm writing right now is a contemporary fiction written in first person. So very different.
There you go.
But it's the story that's in my head that needs to be told. And
right.
This story can't be a historical fiction. It doesn't fit that. And so it needed to be contemporary. So I like that ability to say, no, this is the story. And yeah, this is kind of my brand, but I don't have to follow it 100%. I can still be me.
Yes, absolutely. So my first books were historical fiction.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the cozy mystery, hard-boiled cozy mystery, live action, action and stuff like that with my book, like Love's Calculated Risk. it's, you know, I'm not a sappy kind of writer. I like the hard boiled, cozy mysteries. And I've
Yeah.
written a lot of those. And Road to Elysium is a standout of those, you know, of my normal genre, but it's won 10 awards. So something's good about it.
Something's good. Yeah. And so I think that's something that both readers and authors, I think, would really need to hear is, you know, I tell my readers, I really write character driven fiction. I love a good character. I love a good arc. And wherever my character needs to be is where I'm going to place them. And if you enjoy a good character, then you'll enjoy my writing. Yeah, maybe if you like historical fiction, it won't be your favorite of my books, but I think you'll still enjoy it because it's still how I write.
Correct. It's your
Right?
voice, your
Yeah.
writing voice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. Of the genres that you've tried, what do you like the best?
I think I really love mysteries.
Do you?
I really, yeah. So the book that's with my editor right now has twists and turns in it that I can't wait to hear what my editor has to say. But you know, people always go, "How did you come up with this?" You know, it starts this way, and I don't do a lot of foreshadowing.
Right.
You know, you'll probably notice that when you were reading this book and Ken's called back to the house really quickly and he thinks, oh no, he's been arrested again. And
Right.
it's something complete. Okay, remember that part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to sprinkle humor in as well. And I just really love, you know, twists, turns, no foreshadowing. You'll be reading one sentence, you'll be thinking one thing, and the next sentence you're like, wait, what?
How did that happen? And then you go back and read again to make sure you didn't miss something.
Exactly. So I love doing that. I tried to, I thought I was writing really easy to read novels. I phrase it that way because I don't like to use the words that sometimes people have to go look up the word to see what it means.
Right.
I don't like that myself when I'm reading. But people have told me that they stop and look up what I'm talking about sometimes and go, oh my gosh, this is a real thing in my historical, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, so like the latest novel that I wrote is part of the Sisters in Cold Blood series. And there's a town in the state of Michigan that's underwater. And, you know, I was born in Michigan, so I can kind of have fun with that state. And my dad was like, what? Because he's reading the draft. He's like, I didn't know about this. And he lived in Michigan much longer than I did, obviously. But, you know, he was like, is this real? And I'm like, yeah, this is real.
Yeah.
You know?
Those are the parts when I write historical fiction that I really love, is finding those facts that they're real, but they're not overly well known. And even when I was writing my World War II, I wrote a World War II historical fiction. I tried to find things that weren't what everyone else was writing about. It wasn't the same thing. And I've had a lot of people say, I didn't know that. And it's like, super.
Yes.
I'm so glad. That's what I want to do, is find those things that are just a little different, off the beaten path, that people might not know, or that they'll want to look out and say, was that true? Let me go and do a little research.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, so the people are doing that. Yeah.
Right. I want to know, first of all, are you a plotter or are you a pantser?
Nope, it's all in my head. So I think, I'm not sure if my experience in Hollywood, because I worked there for 30 decades, 30 years. I see the whole book in my head. And like you keep saying, it's in my head. And I need to get it out of there.
Right. Exactly.
And you know, so I have the overall, like just like you said, I have the overall arch of the story. I know kind of where I'm going to begin, what needs to happen, and how it's going to end. But as I write along, I'll go, you know what? Or I'll go do something with friends and something will happen. I'll go, oh, I got to put that in the book.
That would be perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're kind of more in the middle. You do have a plot going on, but it's in your head. You don't write it down, but you're willing to allow the characters some room to do things that you weren't planning on. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm more of a pantser than you are. I have actually gotten 50,000 words in and still don't know where it's ending. And,
okay.
and I get a little worried. It's like, okay, this has got to wrap up, and I don't know how it's going to happen. Usually when that happens to me, though, it's because I'm fighting something, and I know what needs to come next, and for some reason I don't want it to happen. Either it's something that I think is too difficult to write, or I don't feel like it was my idea. It was like, no, I had this planned. Stop trying to take me over here. And when I finally give in and go that way, it's like, oh, and then the whole book opens up. It's like, now I know where I'm going.
Well, yeah, I kind of do that as well, especially if I'm doing some research, like finding that city that's
right.
Sunken, you're like, oh, you know what, I need to add that. I need to, so, sometimes it'll totally build its own life.
Yeah. Have you ever had a character do that, where you thought a character was going to be a minor character, and the next thing you know, they've kind of taken over?
Not only do they I want to marry him. I created such a great character. So in Disturbed Tombs, my leading character is Kaylee, who is an archaeologist, and she's married to a police chief. And my last book in that series, the third book in that series, surrounds more of a murder mystery that he has to solve. And people are like, I love that character, Derek. And I'm like, yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So, there's my false, partner in life. But yeah, so yes, absolutely. I love writing him in, though she's the main character. Here's a little trivia.
Yeah.
This is something all my main characters start with the letter K.
Oh, wow. And is there a reason? Is it because your name is Kay and therefore you decided to do that?
Absolutely.
All right. Pretty cool. Yeah. The only real thing that I've got going between all of my books is all of my books mention North Carolina. They're either set in North Carolina, or there's some little small piece connection to North Carolina. It's, as a North Carolina author, I just decided that would be my little thing, was I would make sure that I nodded to North Carolina, even if briefly, somewhere in my books. So I like that you do K's. That's great. I'm curious, do you have children?
No, I do not have children.
I was thinking maybe you named your children K's.
Nope. No. Would I? Probably not.
Probably not.
No, I did not, unfortunately. Ended up divorced, so I was married, and I am, then just decided I just need to do what I need to do.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. When readers open up this book, what do you, other than a good story, which we as authors, we all want the good story, what do you hope they walk away with?
That no matter your condition in life or where you're at in life, there is always hope. You may not be able to see through it, but something can happen that can change everything for you in a blink of an eye, and bring life back and bring hope back, and using creativity to solve issues is, we talk about creativity in our books. Day-to-day life, using creativity to resolve issues is the same thing. If you step back and look at the situation, if you can, in a third person, and if we do this, that'll work out. So, using creativity to solve issues, both in writing, movies, and in life.
Right.
So I'd like them to walk away thinking it's possible to change things. Nothing is permanent.
I love that. The other thing that I got from it is in order to move forward, he actually had to look outside of himself. So many times when we get sad, depressed, despondent, unable, stuck, whatever, and we focus only on ourselves and whatever is making us miserable, it's almost impossible to go anywhere with that. But the minute that you reach outside of yourself towards someone else who is also struggling in some way, and you find a way to make that other person's life even minutely better, you
Yes.
start feeling better. And so I saw some of that too, because, you know, at first he's all up in his own feels. And then he starts putting himself out there with Michael and Michael's friends and neighborhood. And before long, he's not even really thinking about his own issues anymore. I mean,
Right.
he is, but they're not
prominent.
Yeah, they're not weighing him down. They're not keeping him from experiencing life. And so I like that idea too of, you know, when things are going bad on the inside, look to the outside and find something you can do outside of yourself.
You know, the scene where he brings Michael to the bedroom of his son.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, whoa, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you say that and the goosebumps just went up on my arm. So, but yeah, there is just something, and it's your books, they're so true to life, or at least this one is. It feels like I could have known someone like Ken.
And you might.
Yes.
You know, people tell me that about my characters, I don't spend, and you might probably have noticed this, I don't spend an overt amount of time describing a situation or describing a room or this or that. Those kind of books I lose interest in when I'm reading. But I give you enough that your imagination can take over. And that's true about the characters as well.
Yeah.
I throw in little tidbits. They love blueberry muffins. I love this. Little human things with the characters. And people have all come back to me, no matter which of my books they've read, that they can associate with the characters.
Yeah. I am definitely character driven, and my editor will often say, Terry, I need just a little more about where they are here. Just like give us a hint. And it's like, why? What difference does it make? Let them think about it in their own head. So I've had to learn to give a little more. I'm like you. If you're going to give me 3 pages about the wallpaper, I'm done with the book.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care that it's flocked and it's a certain color blue that, you know, like, I don't care. And I do this, flip, looking for the character. I want to read about the characters, and I love the dialogue and those kinds of things. So I've had to learn that there's an amount that you have to have, but I try not to go over the amount that's absolutely necessary, because same with you. Yeah. I love that. So you talked about a book that you have out. What is coming up next for you?
Well, with my editor right now is the 3rd book in the Sisters in Cold Blood series, mysteries, cozy mysteries, hard-boiled. And then after that, I'm just started writing my 4th book in the Callie Worthy series, Dr. Callie Worthy series.
Wow. So so how many series do you have? Those 2?
I have 2 series, those 2 series, and then individual stories.
Right. So this is a question I have for you that I didn't even think I was going to ask. Which do you like better, writing the individuals or writing series?
Oh, that's a great question. When you're writing a series, the good thing about that is I didn't write any of my books thinking they were going to be series, first of all. And then people loved it so much they wanted more. So I wrote the 2nd book in the Dr. Callie Worthy series. And I had to kind of learn how much background do you put in the 2nd book of the 1st book, right? You're like, do I have to re-explain the characters? I shouldn't have to. You kind of know them. So I kind of turned to Clive Cussler's books. I love his writings, the Dirk Pitt series.
Yes.
And he doesn't spend that much time going over the characters, but, you know, he throws in the same things about his love of cars or his love of this for Dirk Pitt. So I kind of followed that example. And it's nice because you can dive in sooner in the sense of not explaining the characters and in all of that. The new characters, obviously, but and then how do you even, you know, that 1st book won 4 awards and Book of the Year. And then you go, the old auntie, how do you top that? You know,
I know.
and I picked a character that existed, and the people that she interacts with in that series are real people from the past, historical fictions.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked a character that most people don't know about, Boudica from the UK, who gets discovered. And most people are like, what is this? Who is this woman who took on the Romans single-handedly in the UK? And, so you have to pick somebody else. So I had a friend help me pick the next set of people that will be discovered in the fourth book. But, then you're like, okay, now I need to learn about her
now it's a whole new
language
set of
how did she communicate, and how,
right.
oh my God, she used chariots before the Romans used chariots. And you start finding this history about this strong, independent woman and her grudge against Romans. And I just, used it in the book. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy doing research?
I love doing research.
Me too. Okay.
Absolutely love it.
A fellow research junkie. That's good.
Yes. Yeah.
I use the hashtag research junkie. Feel free to start using it as well.
Okay.
I tell people all the time that being an author for me is so wonderful because I get to do the two things I love the most, which is research and write.
Yes, absolutely.
I just adore those things. And my biggest concern with the research is I could get really stuck there because I enjoy it so much that I'm having fun. And I have to remind myself, okay, there's a purpose for the research. It isn't just for you to have fun. We need to.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that problem. I'm not sure. Now I'll have to analyze it now next time.
No, I love learning. And I've always loved learning new things and new facts. And I just get a real charge out of that. So when I'm doing the research, I don't know, it's just very exciting because it's like, oh, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. And then I wonder too, like, was I told that in school and I wasn't listening? Or was that never told to me? Probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You like you said, you find little facts, and then this little fact, like you weren't even expecting to find this fact.
Exactly.
Put that in the book.
Exactly.
And the other thing for me, having worked in Hollywood and as a screenwriter with a first and last at a studio, which means I turn in the script to them first. And then if they don't want it, I can shop it out. But if someone wants to buy it, then they get the last look at it.
Right.
Mine were female, independent, strong women. And I was told that those kind of characters in a movie were not marketable. So that's why I took the leap to becoming a novelist.
Right. Because they really are marketable in books. So many of my readers enjoy strong women characters.
Well, that translates to movies.
You would think.
The difference is the way they market the movies. So recently, if you've been watching the WNBA, until they started going, hey, they're winning, and then news people and morning shows started talking about them.
Exactly.
That they weren't marketing them, they weren't bringing them forward, and now they're breaking all these records with attendance and money and all of that. Same thing for movies, I think.
I think so too. I think you're completely right. So hey guys, if you want to continue this great conversation, head on over to Novels and Latte Book Club on Facebook. There you will have an opportunity to win a digital copy of Road to Elysium by K.A. Oliver. So Kay, if someone wanted to reach out to you and find out more about your other works or talk with you about your research or your writing, how do they get up with you?
Yeah, they can contact me at my website, which happens to be my name, KAYAOliver.com. And I also offer free writing tips. So if you're a novelist to be, I have free writing tips there, from how to do your voice to, creating characters, whatever you can think of to do with writing. And I just, love to inspire people.
Fantastic. I'll have all of that in the show notes. Kay, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. Hey guys, run right out, buy the book. Make sure that once you buy it and read it, that you go ahead and put an Amazon review and review it anywhere that you can, Goodreads and other places, because Kay, like myself, we love a review. And it doesn't even have to be a fabulous review. I just like to know that someone's read it and that they're going to give me their opinion.
Absolutely. We learn from those.
We sure do. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, Kay.
Oh, it was great. I really love the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.